Long days and pleasant nights from the rolling green hills of Ireland. A Ced Mila Falcha, 100,000 welcomes. My name's Marcus. Please like and subscribe if you like this content about the fairy realm, the world of the fairies, where they come from, who are the fairies, who the hell are they, where did they come from, what's their origins, and what's their purpose. There are many different types of fairies, hundreds of different types of fairies, and in today's video we're going to speak about why they're attached to places like fairy mounds, fairy hills, fairy forts and fairy trees, and why do the Irish refuse to cut down a fairy tree, or some even refuse to even step near a fairy tree.
You understand?
Don't go in there.
Don't touch it!
Alright.
There.
I've got a brand new camera, so I hope that I'm coming across better, that it's better visuals, better audio. So before we actually begin, I just want to say thank you so much for being here, for watching, for listening, and I just want to show you a few wee things before we start, that this is a few wee things that we have in our home that respect and cherish the fairy realm, and you all love the fairies. If you're watching this video, I'm sure you're fascinated. Many generations still to this day talk about the fairy realm, talk about stories of the fairies, Tír na Og, many different stories. So I'm sure it's very important to you as well as to me. And this is something that I have in our home. Me and my partner have have a wee fairy garden outside, and the green screen here is picking up the wings a little, but as you can see her, beautiful thing. That's just one. We have so many different types of wee fairies around our house, and this is another thing that we have here, the shillelagh. And the shillelagh is from a fairy tree, and there's only one day of the year where some say that you can take from a fairy tree. You're still not meant to touch it on any other day. You're not meant to cut it down, but you're allowed to take some of the branches and tender the tree, and this is where shillelaghs come from. And shillelaghs are, in literature, this Boston Celtics logo, the American basketball team, has the leprechaun, which is a fairy, and the leprechaun is holding a shillelagh in the badge. And even in literature, you've got in the book Blood Meridian, the judge in the beginning of the book, I don't know which chapter it is, but the judge carries a shillelagh and he uses it as a weapon. And this is like a magical, the judge in it, who is also known as possibly Lucifer. Very, very dark book, but a fascinating read. A very violent book, but extremely studied. And the fairies are something that is still acknowledged today in Ireland. There are many communities and homes still to this day talk about the fairies, and even the word fairy tale comes from ancient Ireland, that these fairies, and that you've got the Tuath Fairy, the fairy godmother. You have so many different types of media that cover this, and in some ways the fairies have been misrepresented, that they're interpreted as these playful, innocent creatures, but usually in stories they are tricksters and they will play tricks, and this is where they are. You may have heard them being referred to as elementals. And why elementals? Well, fire, earth, air, and water are the 4 elements. Even the Greeks and the Romans spoke and written about the 4 elements. And this is why the fairies are known as the elementals, because they can make enchantments and spells and manipulate the elements. And as I said in the beginning of the video, who are the fairies and where did they come from? Who are the fairies? And I can do a deep dive into this type of content. I can cover so many different types of stories, but I just want to individualize this into just the fairies and stick to the historical evidence. And I believe these stories are historical, and these stories are based in truth, and there is truth in all stories. And of course there are embellishments, there are exaggerations, but these stories are very, very important to all of us, as well as to you. And who are the fairies? So, to begin, the fairies are also known as a supernatural race or a group of people called the Tuath Dé Danann. And who are the Tuath Dé Danann? Well, the Tuath Dé Danann were a tribe who came from the sky. Some say they came from the seas, but most believe that they came from the skies. And other people believe, as I do also, that these were fallen angels that were not good nor evil. They were right in between. They were right in the middle. And they were not persecuted, and they also weren't granted paradise. That they were so neutral that they were right in between. And there are many different views and opinions about who the fairies are. Some say that they're just evil, and I don't believe that. I believe they can make a choice between being good or evil, and this is why they're neutral. They're right in the middle. And there are many different types of fairies, and you have the most famous. You've got the banshee, you've got the leprechaun, you have kelpies, brogacs, cruacans, brownies, sprites, changelings. And changelings are a fascinating thing. So if you would like to see more types of content like this, talking about folklore and ancient stories of the past, please let me know. If you could like and subscribe, it means a lot. It's free, it's completely free, and it really lets me know that you want to see more content like this, and it gives me more confidence and a better idea that you do want to see stuff like this. So as I said, to skip all over the rest of this, that who are the fairies and where is their origins? So the origins of the fairies come from a tribe called the Tuath Dé Danann. And the Tuath Dé Danann, they arrived in Ireland roughly 2000 or 1700 BC. And when they arrived in Ireland, there was a tribe who had already inhabited this land, and they were called the Fomorians. And the Fomorians were giants, huge, massive giants that walked the earth, and even the Bible talks about giants. And Ireland has always had a fascination with giants. We have the Giant's Causeway, we have hills and mounds and forts built and dedicated for giants. Even our national hockey team is called the Belfast Giants. And even the Titanic was named the Titan after the Titans of Greece, these giants. And Ireland isn't the only country in Europe to talk about giants. There are many giants in Scotland, in England, France, Germany, Greece, Mesopotamia. There are many different countries that talk about giants, but in Ireland, giants are very profound, and this is where the Tuatha Dé Danann would make their claim that when they arrived in Ireland, that there are many stages before the Tuatha Dé Danann, and some say the first person to arrive on this land was from Noah's granddaughter, and she was called Caesar, or some people call her Kazar, and she was the first. And the next stages, I could do a video going into the deep history about this, and just to focus on the Tuatha Dé Danann. When they arrived in Ireland, as I said, the giants, there was a huge war, a huge conflict would erupt between the Tuatha Dé Danann and the Fomorians. And the Fomorians basically means giants in Irish, and it means far more, which is big men. And these big men would wage war against each other, and a long story short, after a huge battle, a huge war called the Battle of Mantua, it was fought, and there was multiple battles, but after, the Fomorians would eventually lose, and the Tuatha Dé Danann would become victorious, and they would rule Ireland for many years. The Tuatha Dé Danann were magical beings who lived in the land and cherished the land, and just like in Lord of the Rings, one of my favourite books, and you have the elves who inhabited the land, and they did not age nor blemish, and they would live for many years and reside in the Grey Havens. And this is a bit like the Fairies with Tir na Og, the land of the young. And after the victory against the Fomorians, the Tuatha Dé Danann would live in peace and live with the land and love the land. Then the next invasion would take place, and this next invasion was from another tribe called the Gaels, and this is where the word Gaelic comes from. This tribe, the Gaels, are also known as the Mesalanes, and the Mesalanes would arrive roughly 1600 BC, and when they arrived in Ireland, another war would break out between these two groups, and there was even worse battles were fought between these, and many people would die through magical spells, through using special weapons, special warfare to try and defeat each other. And they were almost going to completely annihilate each other and destroy each other from the face of the earth. And then the Tuatha Dé Danann decided to strike a deal. And the Tuatha Dé Danann, this is all relating to the fairies, by the way, that the Tuatha Dé Danann would strike a deal with the Mesalanes, that the Mesalanes, the deal was that for these Gaels to get back in their boats, and for 3 days they could lay anchor on the coast of Ireland, and after 3 days they were allowed to come back on the land and they can take the land after 3 days. And the trick was that the Tuatha Dé Danann would cast spells and conjure up huge big storms to destroy the Gaels or the Mezzalines on their boats. As they were laid anchor and waited in the water, they would be destroyed. And the Gaels would also use counter magic, and they would cast their own verses and reverse these magical spells so they wouldn't be destroyed. And this is where the famous picture of one of the daughters of the Tuatha Dé Danann would play her magical harp at the coast, and you can see the roaring seas behind her. That she's called Eru, one of the daughters of the Tuatha Dé Danann, and we're going to talk about her again later. But after 3 days, the Mezzalines were not destroyed, and the Tuatha Dé Danann kept their word. And when the Mezzalines arrived on the land, they were rewarded this island. The Mezzalines were so impressed by the Tuatha Dé Danann that they also struck a deal, and they said, instead of you dwindling away and being erased from history, we can take the upper world, which is the land, and you can take the underworld. And this is where the fairies would become to be, that the Tuatha Dé Danann would reside within the land, and they would retreat and install themselves into the earth. And the Mezzalines allowed the Tuatha Dé Danann to retreat into these mounds, and these mounds were constructed through the aid of the Tuatha Dé Danann. You've got Newgrange, Tuath, Nuath, these different huge mounds that were built by the Tuatha Dé Danann. And before the Tuatha Dé Danann retreated into the earth, they asked for one request. They said, can you name this island after our daughter Eru? And this is where the word Eru land comes from, and this is where Ireland gets its name from. Yes, Ireland is named after a female, named after a woman. The daughter of the Tuatha Dé Danann, Eru, would inherit the name, and this is where Ireland gets her name. And the Tuatha Dé Danann retreated and, as I said, installed themselves into the earth, and the Mezzalines would now take control of Ireland. And this is where the tribes of Celtic come from, the Celts. So when you look at it, the original Irish people are not, we're the foreigners here. We are the ones who came after the first tribes of Ireland. That these giants, as I said, they destroyed all the natives, and the Tuatha Dé Danann came and rescued. The Tuatha Dé Danann are basically the saviours of Ireland, that they defeated the giants. And there are many different amazing stories speaking about these stories, and I can do a video discussing these different stories. And on certain days, as I said about the Shillelagh All Souls Day, the 1st of November, which is All Souls Day, this is where on Halloween or Samhain, our two worlds would merge and be blurred. The lines of both worlds would cross over, and this is where Halloween comes from. Iha Hana, it's also known as. And Iha Hana is where we would dress up in costume to camouflage ourselves as fairies, and dress up as different monsters, because in the other world they would come into our human world. Absolutely fascinating. Different customs were made that we believed that our family members would visit us and we would provide hospitality and give them food and treats and gifts. And this is where they say they give the fairies cream and sweets, that they love sweet stuff, honey. That this is where apples come from, that apples in the Celtic world were considered a magical tree, and this is where apple bobbing comes from. And these apples were covered in sweet. There'd be gifts to the fairies, because when people come knocking at your door for trick-or-treating, you would give sweets to the fairies, and this is where children would receive sweets. And the apple bobbing is a fascinating thing that is also based in Celtic history. And I can do a video on jack-o'-lanterns, where pumpkins come from, and it's another fascinating story, that these are all based in the fairy realm, where the fairies would come to visit, where our worlds and their worlds would cross over and merge, and it's absolutely fascinating. So this is where the fairies would eventually retreat to after being defeated. They would install themselves in the land and become a part of the earth. And this is where fairies take their place, and they are immortalized and still spoken about today, studied in universities, studied by individuals like me, and stories are still told by the fire and by families to their children. So it is a fascinating thing that all these different just dynamic stories are based in Celtic lore, Celtic folklore. So that's basically the gist, or the brief summary of the fairies, the Sidhe, the Seoga. And if you would like to see more videos like this, and for me to talk more about this, that please let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe. It'll let me know that you like this type of content and you want to see more of it. That I really do enjoy talking about this stuff, and I hope you take joy and some pride in your history, and that this is something that we all hold dear in our hearts. And just thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here, for listening to me rant on. And I really could, this video could be 5 hours long talking about the fairy realm, but I want to make it simplified. I want to simplify it and individualize who the fairies are, because there are many different, as I said, so many different types of fairies out there. Many different cultures talk about different types of entities, but there are also very scary stories about the Celtic world, and that is something that I could talk about too. The horror side of the Celtic world. But thank you so much for watching, and may the road rise to meet you and the wind be always at your back. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm praying for you. Please say a prayer for me. God bless.